Buenas tardes and welcome back to the Metropolitan Culture Corner. If you live here, or even if you've just visited this beautiful, diverse, eccentric city, then you know that a big part of Barcelona is its bar culture, and not just in a crazy party kind of way. I mean, also, but that's not all. The city definitely has its party scene and its discotecas, but one of the things that surprised me most when I first came here was the way in which bars form a part of the social fabric of the city, in a way that's really different from going to a bar in the US. Here, for example, it's not uncommon to see multiple generations of the same family having drinks and tapas on the terrace together during the day or the early evening, or at night groups of friends get together to talk about life for hours at a stretch. There's a lot of street life and it's an integral part of the local culture. There are drinks involved, of course, but they're part of the experience, they're not the purpose of the experience. And of course, within this scene, the figure of the bartender plays a critical role. He or she is basically the gatekeeper, has heard people's sob stories and secrets, and basically oversees the tide of humanity that flows in and out of their dominion. And in the case of one of the lifelong bartenders at the oldest bar in Barcelona, even more so. Tarek Fresno has been a bartender at the Bar Marsella in the neighborhood of El Raval for nearly 20 years, which means he's practically grown up behind the bar there. But Marsella isn't just any local bar. Founded in 1820, yes, you heard that right, 1820, it is the oldest bar in the city, and its atmosphere hasn't changed much over the past 2 centuries. Generations ago, it was Ernest Hemingway's favorite hangout and a hotspot for all kinds of artists and intellectuals in the 19th and early 20th centuries. Dalí, Gaudí, Picasso, and many more were known to stop in for a drink and a chat. It was also historically a meeting place for workers and trade unionists. There are still signs on the walls that were hung during the Franco era that say "no singing" and "no loitering at the tables," a reflection of when Bar Marsella was the location of quite a few clandestine anti-fascist meetings. So artists, political activists, workers, intellectuals, philosophers, you name it, you'd find them all at Bar Marsella sometime over the past 200 years. Stopping by at Bar Marsella feels kind of like stepping into a time capsule, as the place still has its original hydraulic tiles, the crystal chandeliers, and the marble bar from when it was first built. The paint on the ceiling is peeling, the lighting is low. Who knows how old the dusty bottles are in the cabinets on the walls. I loved this place the first time I saw it, and apparently I wasn't the only one, because it's also appeared in countless commercials, various films, music videos. This, combined with the bar's history and its picturesque, one-of-a-kind atmosphere, has made it a point of interest to history buffs, pop culture buffs, as well as tourists who've taken the time to do their research. These days, there are fewer and fewer and fewer authentic places like Bar Marsella in Barcelona, especially since the pandemic, but this one shows no signs of leaving anytime soon. And so I wanted to introduce you to one of the people who has not only been an integral part of this magical place for a number of years, but who will also be one of its guardians for future generations. And if that weren't enough, besides being a staple figure at Bar Marsella, Tarek is also a world traveler and a diehard music fan. Think Bowie, Tom Waits, Nick Cave. So please welcome Tarek Fresno to the Metropolitan Culture Corner.
I was born and raised here. I know everything about this city at this point. I think it's a great city to live. I still like it here compared to other cities. Honestly, I don't like to be ethnocentric. I don't like to think that my thing is the best, because I go to other places and I think they have their own culture, their own way to do things, their own architecture. Of course, there is places that you like more or less, but the world is an amazing place and there's many good things and many good cities and many good countries. In my case, Barcelona, I have a lot of love for her, but I also fell in love with other cities on the world. So I'm just lucky to my stars that I have the opportunity of being born and raised in a nice city.
So you are a Barcelona native, right?
I was born in Eixample.
And then you started working at Bar Marsella when you were 17?
No, 17 years ago.
Aha, okay.
I was 23.
So you were just hanging out in the Raval and they were like, oye tú, or how did this happen that you ended up working for Marsella?
I was studying by then. I was working in a pizza place, this kind of thing, you know, when you're young, to have money to go out on the weekends with my friends and all that. So I was studying and I was combining that with some small jobs. So one day I went to this bar to have a drink and there was like a sign on the door. It said, "We are looking to hire somebody." So I just asked, hey, the offer is still on, which was obvious, no? Because if not, they would take the... So they say, maybe you can come one day with a CV. And I said, okay, cool. And before I left, the dude came. And he said, actually, can you come tomorrow at 11? And I said, sure, yeah, why not? So next day at 11, I was there. I remember the door was closed. So the door was closed and I was there waiting, you know? And then I see 2 guys coming and I started that day.
And you didn't know that that was the beginning of this 17-year period of your life at the time?
No, I had no idea.
How much of the history of the bar did you know at the time, or nothing?
Absolutely nothing. I think that was the second time that I've been there, but you know, when you're 23, well, you're not that focused. Some people, they do, sure.
So at the time for you, it was just a job and you had no idea that you'd become kind of part of the family.
For me, it was like I was combining that with my studies always. I didn't want to stop studying. For me, it was like a very cool schedule because I was working on the night, but it was not until very late. So I could be home like at 2 or something. I was going to class at 3 o'clock.
What were you studying?
I was doing mechanics, then I did naval engineering. Actually, I didn't finish, but in this moment was the original plan. So it was a good schedule for me to do these two things, and it was good.
During the day, you had naval engineering, and at night, you're serving absinthe like people used to do to Hemingway. So those are totally different universes. What is it that made you decide to stay with the one and not the other?
You're studying something that you think you can potentially like. My dad is a person who likes this kind of thing. He was a good student, let's say. I was supposed to study, you know? So that's what I was doing. Then at one point, I realized that that was not my thing. So I didn't finish. And at the same time, at the bar, I was better and better. So I was like, well, I guess maybe this is it. Also, the bar, it always allowed me to make different plans, to try to start something new. Never worked, you know, but I tried different things, you know. Maybe I keep on trying.
Must have met a lot of people over the years working at the bar. So of all the projects that you tried to start or all the people you've met, is there like the coolest thing or the weirdest thing, something that you really remember? This was definitely one of the things that would not have happened to me had I become a naval engineer, for example.
Yeah, I met a lot of people. I had a lot of good experiences. You're a musician. I met a lot of people that ended up inviting me to some gigs. For example, one day I was working 15 years ago. You know a band called The Darkness?
Mm-hmm.
Rock and roll. The guitar player, who's the brother of the singer, he came there and I was learning guitar by then. I really liked the band, so I saw him and asked him, hey, what are you doing here? Are you playing these days? And he said, yeah, we're actually playing tomorrow and we are opening for Lady Gaga. So I told him, do you have like a pick for me or something? He said, no, but you know what? Why don't you come tomorrow and I give you picks there? So I said, yeah, sure, why not? So next day, we went there, me with a friend from the bar. We were on the guest list. Everybody was crazy for Lady Gaga. Because when Lady Gaga was super big, she's big now, but she was bigger. So we went there, we watched them play. It was amazing, you know. And after, when Lady Gaga started singing, I saw 2 songs and I left, you know, like I was not. And many stories like that. Very cool people that I met on the way. I made a lot of friendship too.
When I met you in the bar and kind of bothered you to say, hey, come do this interview, you mentioned that Giuseppe, the owner, this family, has run the bar for multiple generations. They live next door. It's almost like the living room and a big part of that family's history. When you've now become part of the adopted family, the place must mean a lot to you.
Yeah, sure. It's my house now, you know. It's like going home. I leave home to go my other home.
But that wouldn't have happened if in 2013, the people who own the building where the bar is didn't want to renew the lease. Probably the building would have been demolished, like all the gentrification that goes on. But the neighborhood got really upset and city council bought the building and saved it. I know why the bar is important to you because it's like your home, but why do you think Marsella is important to the culture of the city?
They wanted to sell the whole building. They were trying to do a hotel or an apartment or something like that. So yeah, people get very pissed off. They were doing this, you sign a thing.
Like a petition, right?
Petition. So there was a lot of signs and that, and I guess the pressure of the people, because people was realizing, I guess, that there was not that many places left in town. It's okay if you close because you want to close, but not because of speculation and this kind of thing. So at the end, the city hall, they always have the opportunity of having like the last, they just bought the whole building.
There's actually an expression for it, but I can't remember what it is, but it's the right of something or other, where the city hall says, no, this is a historically important building and we've chosen to buy it and you can't do anything about it.
It's that. So what they did, I think is very cool because on the apartments, they did this pisos de protección oficial, apartments for people without a lot of money. They're for people they cannot afford to pay a lot.
The affordable housing.
Affordable housing.
Especially since the pandemic, a lot of these places, the last few really authentic places, a lot of them have disappeared. Have you seen how the gentrification, has that really affected the neighborhood around Marsella?
Honestly, lately, I just don't go out that much. So I don't know. I just know what I see on the streets that I take to go back home. I think Raval is still one of the neighborhoods where there's still some places that's been there like for a long time. But I see it even more in my neighborhood where I live, in Eixample. This is crazy. Every day I go on the street, they are closing all shop or whatever to make a new. That's like constant. On Raval, I see it sometimes, but honestly, in my point of view, maybe I'm wrong, maybe it's just my point of view, I see it less than other neighborhoods. What I see, and I have nothing against, but it's a lot of similar shops like these phone shops. It's absolutely the right to put a phone shop if you want, but this is kind of maybe too much at some point.
The Raval has kind of a bad reputation. They say, "Oh, it's so dangerous," but it seems like one of the only parts that kind of conserves a bit of this kind of punk, drag, counterculture thing that used to be a really big part of the Barcelona cultural scene before it became such a massive tourist destination. It seems like one of the few places that still represents this kind of alternative part of Barcelona.
I mean, for me, I did never live there, so I just go work and I go back home. I understand it can be annoying to live in a neighborhood where some people, they go there especially to party.
Right. Before I let you escape, of course, I can't not ask you about the absinthe. Lots of people that go to Marsella, they go to try absinthe. Why did the bar maintain this tradition of serving absinthe?
Why not? No, I'm joking. Because absinthe has been served in this bar almost since the beginning. I mean, absinthe started in, I think, 19th century. It's originally from Switzerland, but got very popular in Paris on the 19th century. I mean, a lot of people, they were going to the bar only for the absinthe. You gotta give people what they want. So we have our own recipe. I mean, we don't do it by ourselves in a place of total trust for us in Barcelona, but they do that with our own recipe. So it's specifically for us. It's under our name and under our specifications. And I think people, they value this a lot because people, they can feel it's a different absinthe.
It is real absinthe. It's not some kind of absinthe like it's the real thing.
We have questions like, but absinthe is not green or blue? No, it's not. They just add colorants and these kind of things. It's very natural absinthe, I think it's very nice. People just love it.
And why the ritual of the sugar and the water and the fire and all that? Is that for the taste or is it because it just looks cool?
It's for both. It is because it's the way to do it. Honestly, it's the way to do it. It's better without fire. I know people, they love fire and I get it. It's fun, you know. Men, human, they love fire since we discovered this, you know. The absinthe comes in a glass, so you need to mix that with water and sugar. The absinthe is more like a elixir. You gotta convert that in a more milky thing. So by pouring the water slowly into the sugar cube that is gonna be on top of the absinthe, you're gonna add water into the sugar, it's gonna melt and it's gonna fall inside. You're gonna melt the sugar properly, slowly, and you're gonna mix the whole thing to create a concoction with water and sugar, like a more milky kind of drink. And honestly, for fire, it's only because it's supposed to add some caramelized taste to the whole thing. You can choose. In our opinion, not only mine, it's better without fire because it's the original way, but it's totally up to you.
I just think it's really fascinating that there's a place that serves this drink that is just straight out of a movie set.
Talking about movie sets, a lot of movies being recorded on the bar, many movies, like a year ago, Rosalía, you know the singer?
Rosalía did a music video there.
A very nice music video called Vampires. Then the other day they shoot a movie, I cannot tell you which one yet, but I guess you will see it. Well, it's like very famous people from Hollywood. So maybe if you Google, you will see they are shooting here in Spain. Then a lot of people, they ask me about this movie. You've seen Big Cristina Barcelona, Woody Allen film. I'm on that movie, you know.
You're in the movie.
I appeared for a second at the bar. What else? Lots of movies. There was a crazy one for Bollywood in India, so a lot of people from India, they keep on coming and they keep on asking, like, they shoot this movie here, right? I've never seen that movie, but it seems like it was very big in India.
Well, Bollywood is a huge industry. It's like Hollywood, but over across the ocean. Yeah. So of all the things that you've explained to me, which is a lot, whether it's being in a Woody Allen movie or it's meeting friends, what's your favorite thing about your job? And also, what's something that you wish maybe that people understood a bit better about what bartenders deal with?
For me, the best thing is that I go there, there's very good vibe, everybody is welcome. People that we run the bar, we are all friends at this point, and I don't work until very late. Like my normal schedule is something like 8 until 12. So that allows me to have the whole day for me and do these things. And for people, they need to understand that they just need to come and enjoy. And I hope that we still many years there. If you've never been, just come. If you want to, you can say hi to me, or of course to the rest of the guys. And we will be very pleased to let you try whatever you fancy.
Well, I'm sure that our listeners or viewers or watchers or whatever will definitely be stopping by. So much for the interview, really. It was fun.
No, thank you. Hello, Tori.
Adios. For those of you who've been watching, check out Bar Marsella if you don't know the place already, because while it's great that such a historic site gets its share of foreign visitors and tourists, we also want to make sure that the locals are supporting the place too, right? Right. One night after checking out a screening at the Filmoteca, you could stop by, order a drink. It's about a 5-minute walk away. And yes, they do offer other choices on the menu besides absinthe. And the place is just cool. As always, thank you for watching and see you next time on the Metropolitan Culture Corner. That's good.